travel isn't just about destinations, it's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabocha, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
11:36, Tshidi Madia standing in for Clement Manyathela. I think this next segment might be one of my favorites. I'm sure. I'm trying. It is, of course, time for the sharing space where one of our listeners has written in and is asking for a little bit of your assistance. Today, we've got a problem with Thandi. I'll tell you about that just now.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
So let us come into the team here at the Clement Manyathela Show, and it's a listener who's got a problem at her place of employment at work. Here's the letter. It says, "Greetings, Clement and the listener, so to you as well. I hope you're well. I work in an open plan office where there's very little privacy. I have two people on each side of my cubicle and I'm in the middle. I've noticed that whenever I'm on a personal phone call, my one colleague, let's call her Thandi, will take off her earphones. I'm assuming to listen to my private conversations. I say this because recently Thandi made a comment to me that she's surprised that I get along with my mom because from the way I speak to her on the phone, it seems like she really frustrates me. Thandi's quite nosy and not just with me, so I know for a fact that she's always listening to my calls. Thandi once asked my other colleague who sits across from us why she's always calling her boyfriend during working hours, and if her boyfriend doesn't work, because he's always available. Thandi's judgy. She's not fella. She's also quite judgmental, Thandi. The listener says, I now feel really uncomfortable knowing that someone is always listening to me. I've resorted to standing up to make some phone calls, but sometimes I'm too busy to leave my desk. How do you as listeners, how do you deal with a nosy colleague? How do I tell Thandi to mind her business without involving HR, without making this a human resource matter? I mean, Thandi is nosy, guys. How is it that somebody who sits next to you, when you receive a phone call, they take off their earphones? They've been listening to their own thing. They take off their earphones, and then they make commentary about your mother. This listener saying that, Thandi's made comments saying, I'm surprised you get along with your mom because the way you talk to her, it sounds like she really frustrates you. My worst, which is really funny, is Thandi weighing in on the boyfriend of the other colleague, saying that it sounds like your boyfriend doesn't work. Why is he always available? 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. What is your advice to our listener? What must happen? How do you tell Thandi to back off? Or do you think the listener's wrong? Maybe there's a chance Vangelis here laughing. I
would have been Thandi. There's no cremora in the fridge. Wow, what is up with Thandi? Yo.
Thandi. Yeah, Thandi is a character. Because also she's not afraid to show that she's been listening to your business. I mean, how does she weigh in on somebody's relationship, weigh in on somebody's partnership with their mother? So what do you say to our listener? What is your advice? How do you best deal with a nosy colleague? How do you say to a Thandi, do you have a Thandi in your life? If you experienced a Thandi, what did you say? How did you get them to bugger off without going to human resource and saying, hey, please assist us. We've got a person who minds our business. I also don't know if it's comfortable where every time the phone rings, you've got to get up because you're worried that the person next to you is eavesdropping. That's uncomfortable, isn't it? That makes work also really awkward, doesn't it? Like now you must always be mindful of what this person says or what that person says. I don't know. 011-883-0702, 072-702-1702. Nah, my take. Thandi Chacharach. She's in places that she has no business involving herself. And I, unfortunately, am quite direct, and I would have said it very quickly, like, Tandura Taba. And Tabataka are my business, not ours, I don't know about yours. But absolutely send your WhatsApps and messages through to us on 011-883 if you want to call in, on 072-702-1702. I'm also seeing messages on the YouTube page because we are also live on YouTube. I always forget. But I'll play some of your voice notes. Take a listen.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
One day you should actually maybe get your mom or your friend to call you and then make up this whole conversation about Thandi and be like, yeah, there's this person, she's always listening to whatever, but just indirectly address her on the phone so she'll be listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I'm also seeing the messages on YouTube, so I'll read for you what Walla Waters says. Walla Waters, leave my hair alone. Okay, first of all, stop saying my hair looks like Donald Trump. It's the headphones. But Walla Waters says, Thandi is right. The colleague has to leave her desk if she wants privacy. She cannot make private calls around us and expect us not to comment. You support Thandi? Wild. Thank you so much for that. I'm seeing Michelle on the phone line in Santa. Michelle, hi. What should this colleague do?
Yeah, so I absolutely love this. So I've also been in this situation. I've worked in many open plan offices. I've also taken the opportunity to remove myself and go to like a private office and stuff. But if Thandi's persistent, I think you should make it awkward, right? So set your phone alarm so that your phone looks like it's ringing, and then take some fake phone calls, right? And then make up a whole pile of stuff. Talk about a dead relative or an STD that you had to go to the doctor for, or maybe a swinging party, or just make up some absolute awkward nonsense.
I feel like if it's a swinging party that you talk about, or even unfortunately an STD, Thandi's going to go, oh my God, I've got the tea. Thandi's going to lean into it, not away from it. I don't think that discourages somebody like Thandi who can't mind her own business. Michelle, thank you so much for that. That's Michelle out in Santon. He says that make it awkward. Can you make it awkward for Thandi? I mean, it's an open plan office. And I think here's the other thing about open plan offices. It's not like you can make a decision to find a private office. Most of us operate and work in open plan offices. So what do you do? What do you say to our listener? Noticed that their colleague who sits next to them, Thandi, is eavesdropping, right? And even goes as far as making the comments. Not only does she put her earphones down when this one colleague gets calls, but even makes comments based on the things that she's picked up on the telephone. 072-702-1702. Here are some of your voice notes.
Hi, Tshidi. It's Lulama in Boksburg. What Anonymous needs to do is that when she's on a call and Thandi is listening in on the call, she then needs to talk to the person that she's talking to over the phone about Thandi, to say, Ish, I can't speak about everything because there's a colleague of mine that is forever listening to my conversations and making comments about mine and other colleagues' conversations. Because then, if she still doesn't heed that hint, then maybe it does need to go to HR.
Hello, Tshidi, how are you? My name is Tebogo. Tshidi, people are nosy, you know that. People are so nosy. In short, Thandi must just get up the chair, answer the call somewhere else, because people are nosy. But well,
I think the name says it all. Thandi after all. Thandi Ndaba. Here in Tembisa.
Thank you so much. Thandi Rataditaba. She's a Thanda of people's ditabas. No, I think there's got to be something else. And I feel like everyone's excusing Thandi's behavior, by the way. I think like nobody's trying to call out Thandi. Eh? A lot of us are going, no, you must check yourself because Thandi's just the way that she is. No, we are nosy here. We listen to... I don't know, guys. There's got to be behavioral conversation that must also happen with Thandi, no? Am I lying? Let's take a quick break. I'll come back to more of your WhatsApps and voice notes.
Let's walk the talk.
702
11:46. We are in the sharing space. It's the sharing space feature. We're dealing with Anonymous, who's written into the show to complain about a colleague of hers. She says that she works in an open plan office with very little privacy, which is fine, except there's a colleague that sits next to her, at the cubicle next to hers, and this particular colleague, her name is Thandi. Thandi tends to eavesdrop. That's the gist of it. So every time she gets a phone call, this is anonymous, Thandi puts down her earphones to listen to these private calls. And our listener knows it because Thandi's made comments that suggest that she's been listening. She'll say, I'm surprised you get along with your mom because when the way you speak to her on the phone, it seems like she really frustrates you. She says to another colleague, you're always calling your boyfriend during working hours. Does the boyfriend not work? Because he's always available. Thandi is a nosy. That's what I think Thandi is. Thandi should have been a journalist. What's your advice to Thandi, to Anonymous about Thandi? 072-702-1702 for voice notes and WhatsApps. 011-883-0702 to call in. Here's some of your WhatsApps on this matter.
Hey, Thandi, should be taking private calls while you are working?
And that's the question. Should you be taking private calls? I asked earlier that I feel very strongly that the measures are directed at Anonymous and not Thandi. And I don't think you can avoid private calls, guys. They do happen. While you're on the job, life happens at the same time. Simultaneously, life happens, and people will call you. Anonymous's mother will absolutely call her. I have people who know I'm live on the radio right now who are calling me right now. That's life. That's what happens. People call you. Do you avoid all calls? Is that it? I don't know. How do you speak to Thandi without involving human resource in the conversation? How does HR stay out of the equation, but you are able to then say, no, Thandi, don't do this. That's not what an adult is meant to do in the place of employment. Kolel on Twitter says, if you want privacy, step outside. We all love tea. Hey! 072-702-1702 for voice notes and WhatsApps. 011-883-1702 to call in.
Tshidi, hi 702. I think Anonymous' problem is not really that serious. Look, some of us, we are smokers. So, if you go to the smokers corner, we talk about all this stuff. So we don't really bother about what other people are saying, because when we get to that corner, we speak. So maybe she takes up smoking, and she can always take a smoke break and then deal with the private conversations in the smoke break. I don't know. But sometimes that's how it works, Mulefa from the report.
Thank you, Mlefa says you must become a smoker to avoid a nosy colleague. Hi, Mlefa. That's what, I don't know about that one. Some of the WhatsApps that have come through, I'm going through the same thing with a Thandi. This one by me asked if I can stop using Sepedi because you won't hear me. I'm sorry. Now you're going to tell me not to use my language because you cannot hear me. Hey, I don't know. Sakina in Johannesburg, hi. What's your advice to Anonymous?
Hi there. Good afternoon. My advice is, you can't stop the nosy Thandi. If you are sitting in an environment where there are, people around you, you can't really stop or help people from listening in on your conversations. So, the previous callers were quite funny, but also, you want to take into consideration your work environment. Yeah. You don't want to kind of make things unpleasant when you're hinting at the callers, people calling you and saying, I've got a nosy Thandi. You'll make things very unpleasant.
But what do you do, though, Sakina? I think it's important. You're raising an important matter that we can't actually avoid people overhearing, maybe. But what do you do? Because it's not just she's hearing your conversations. It's then what she does with what she hears. How do you then say, please mind your own business, or do not give running commentary on my life?
Absolutely. So I think, you can control what you do. So I think my advice is, when you're taking your calls or when your family or friends are calling you, you can just maybe say to them, look, I'm a little bit busy right now. Can I call you during lunchtime or after hours? Because I think also if you are going to make this an HR issue, HR is going to say to you, well, you shouldn't be taking calls during business hours. It's taking away from your work, or personal calls during business hours. So I think what you can do is, take the calls after hours or during lunchtime, or even send a text message. That might also help. But I think, you can control your own behavior, but you can't control that. Because this really is now relating to a personal issue. It's got nothing really to do with HR. It's actually even getting into your own work, your work time. So they might even put you in the wrong by saying, you shouldn't actually be taking
should be
personal
focused
calls.
on work. All right, thank you. Thank you, Sakina. Sakina's out in Johannesburg. So a lot of people were weighing in, are actually saying, Anonymous, you need to do the work. You need to manage this. You need to control this. I'm going to the WhatsApp line now. Kagiso Muriel says, you are me, Tshidi. I would have long addressed her without mincing my words. This one does not need one to hint. When she takes the earphones off, I would ask, are you talking? That's Kagiso. Yeah, Kagiso, I wouldn't be like, are you talking? I'd be like, I would have addressed it. I'm not going to go back and forth for a really long time. I'm not going to be made uncomfortable at work. I have a different view and a different experience, mind you, about whether you can take calls or not in your place of employment. I obviously can't take calls in this moment, but I have a very different perspective about how you approach that. And if I feel that somebody's giving me literally running commentary on my life without me giving you the updates, which suggests that you're listening, we're going to put it to bed very quickly. We're not going to go back and forth for too long. Another WhatsApp, Thandi must get a life. I think it seems she doesn't have a life. That's all. Hey, yeah, Thandi, get a life. Hear more of your voice notes.
Hey, Tshidi, I remember in 2012, when the company I used to work for started monitoring calls, and then they started compiling bills according to the phone calls you make. They'll go through the phone list. Everybody had a code, so they knew who's calling that number. So they'll ramp up and then go through the list of numbers that you dialed, and all the numbers that were private, that are frequent numbers, they subtracted them and you had to pay for them. Since that time, when I paid 8,000 rent, I never used the company phone for my private calls again.
Oh, well, that's a different thing. Company phone for private calls, that's a different thing altogether. And I think you dealing with the consequences of it, those might be correct. I don't think that Anonymous is using the work phone for private calls. I think is taking private calls, maybe even on the cell phone. That's why she says she's got to get up from, and I don't know why I came saying it's a she. What if it's a he? Or they're saying that they get up to go address the call. So it doesn't sound to me like they're using a work phone. On the WhatsApp line, somebody else says, Tandy's being neighborly and watching around her space by listening to everything around her. Neighborly, good neighborly girl, Tandy. Yeah, I don't know. More of your voice notes here.
See, I've got this guy that I work with. Yes. When you talk about sneaking, yeah, we work in the same office. We put our phones on the desk. I mean, I'm more of a person who reads messages like Facebooks and WhatsApps and Instagrams. I don't stay on the phone for so long, but I leave it on the table. When I take it and read, that guy would just lift his head and check what I'm reading. He would even tell me, "Oh, you're on 20% battery." How? Where did you see the 20%? Because I even noticed my battery is on 20. Or even tell me, you've got about 2 messages that you didn't read. Why don't you read your messages? He sneaks up on my phone. I told him many times, stop reading.
Hello, Tshidi. Some calls are urgent. Sometimes your mother is calling to say, I've been discharged from hospital, don't come and see me or whatever. But the person taking off the earphones, you need to be now talking aloud and saying, my colleague has taken off her earphones, so I can't continue with this conversation. You can make a fake call. Pick up the receiver and then just say, I wanted to talk to you, but now she has taken off her earphones, so I can't continue with the call.
Yes, I would actually also do that. Like, I'm trying to have a conversation with you, but Tandiki or Tandi also wants to join. Tandi, what is your thoughts on ABCDE? I would actually do that. I always say to my boss, if people say they're petty, if they say, what's Michelle Obama saying? If they go logo, I'm like, no, I go to the basement. I would actually, unfortunately, do that. That is who I am. On the WhatsApp line, another message says, she should take us the call and look at Tandi while she's conversing. See? And afterwards, let her know she does not have to eavesdrop. She'll be included. Exactly. Tandi, you want in? Let's have a conversation together, friend. Because you want in, you can also put it to bed like that. More voice notes.
Hi, Tshidi. Regarding personal calls at work, I think if you're taking a personal call at work in front of other colleagues and having conversations on the phone in front of other colleagues, you're kind of allowing them into your personal life and your personal conversations and your personal business. And then they automatically going to have an opinion and talk about it. I mean, let's be honest, women are women. Even, men, they like stories. So, I think, like the other caller said, you've got to control yourself and your actions because that's all you're in control of. And if you don't want people to know about what's going on in your personal life or to have an opinion about it, don't allow them access to that information because as soon as you do, people are going to talk.
Thank you so much. Why do we always say women? Have you seen men gossip at the level that they gossip? At the level that they mind people's business? Ha! Anyway, that's my 5 cents. Thank you so much for that.